All right, so we back. This is the Frankly Football YouTube. As you notice, we got a different setting right here. I got my brand new co-host right here. This is Chris. You know,
Hey,
he's
what's
gonna be here now and forever.
good to go,
So,
man? Good to see you today, man.
hey, I'm proud to be here, man. You
Happy
know,
Memorial Day to you.
same to you, brother. Same to you. You know, hope you and your family is healthy and plan on doing something, within the home and enjoying yourself.
Man, everybody's doing that, man. Just trying to stay safe, trying to stay pretty much active during this pandemic and trying to just get through it.
No doubt. I feel you. That's the same thing we doing. We're gonna, have a little cookout. Well, cook in,
Cook in,
and
yeah.
enjoy ourselves. Yeah.
No doubt. No doubt. So we're
So,
doing
let's talk some ball, man.
good.
The subject on the table today is expectations.
Ah,
Because last season in 2019 was kind of like the tale of two teams.
gotcha.
You had teams that would start slow and end well,
Right.
and it's like Jekyll and Hyde. You don't want that. You want consistency.
Absolutely.
And I'm
Absolutely.
hoping that, starting off with just this coaching staff, we get a new level of consistency that we didn't have with Jason Garrett. What do you
Got
think?
you. Well, what we did, like you said, with expectations, you look at what we ended up with 2018 and the expectation in the 2019. Your expectation, I think, as well as mine, coming out of 2018 after that divisional round loss game
Mm-hmm.
was, hey, boom, all the pieces in place. You've got Amari. Amari's back, full season with him. Gallup's going to mature. Then, boom, we should be able to get to the NFC Championship round. I think you were thinking that, I was thinking that, but more importantly, I believe it was the ownership who did that, and that's why they walked into this season saying, hey, we've got to do better. Steven said repeatedly, we have got to do better than we did in 2018. So the only other step for that is making it to the NFC Championship game. And I
That's
think
the
that kind
only
of
thing. That's the
that's
only thing.
the only thing. Anything less, making the playoffs wasn't going to do it. Winning the division wasn't going to do it because you've seen you could do that in 2016. You had just done it in 2018, so there was no room for error. And I think by setting that tone of the bar being, unless you make the NFC Championship, everybody out here is gone, that led to their mindset and how they carried out the entire season, from free agency to the draft and into the season.
Definitely. And we got a guy who was historically a little what's the word I'm looking at, behind the curve in Mike McCarthy, but I think that him embracing analytics and the Cowboys is going to be a good thing for us. He took a much needed time away from the hot seat of coaching in order to revamp his style and embrace the new age way of talent evaluation, game
Right.
calling, and things like that. So I'm hoping what he can bring to the table, if he can do exactly what he says he did
Right.
in his time away, I think that is really gonna, improve the way that we call games in the middle of the game, because that's
Absolutely.
somewhere where we really struggled last year. We struggled adjusting going before the half.
Right.
We did well in the half going into the second half, but we struggled adjusting mid-game.
Right. The Cowboys suffered last year from not having the ability to take any game and be down at halftime and come back and win the game. And that was a consistent theme of last year. So I think with Coach McCarthy and the coaching staff, I think that's been the biggest addition this offseason. Outside of what we've done in the draft and what we did at free agency, I think getting a whole new coaching staff and getting a different set of eyes on it. You and I both know that the theme for the Dallas Cowboys, they're one of the most talented teams in football. Well, I truly believe everybody has talent. I think that you've got to have talent in different areas and be able to coach some guys up to go to the next level, to the point that you get that bump to those games you need. My feeling is this league is set up to go 8-8.
Yeah.
So it takes talented players, well coached, to get you those 2 to 3 football games you need to get home field advantage. And then you got to throw luck in there to get other different things that end up happening.
Of course.
And so I think that's definitely, with the addition of this coaching staff, from the head coach, the assistant head coach, the defensive back coach, the special teams coach, the coaching staff, the addition of the new coaching staff is paramount to where this team will go next year. I truly believe
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we talked about this before. Little side note here. This is the second time we haven't recorded this because we had
Yeah,
audio issues.
yeah, no doubt.
Lost 2 hours worth of audio. But we talked about this before. Coaching can really be the difference between 2 and 3 wins or losses in the middle of a season.
I mean,
And I feel like with expectations for this new coaching staff, we feel like they can give us those wins as opposed to our coaching staff giving us those losses last year.
without question, Brandon, the one loss that are hanging over the Cowboys' head above all things is the loss last year in Week 16 to the Philadelphia Eagles. And me personally, I've never liked losing, but this was probably the best loss in the history of the Cowboys for me. And I say that because it gave you the ability, because what probably happened was we win Week 16, you win the division.
Yep.
So then you get to the playoffs, right? And then you end up having to play Seattle again. You beat Seattle. Luck of the draw, you get to either play, you get a chance to go to the divisional round. If you win and get boat raced in the divisional round, what ends up happening, you've lost draft seeding position.
Yeah.
So now I'm not picking at 17. I'm picking maybe a few spots down, and then I don't get to, innovate my team where I did in the draft. But more importantly, there'll be more chance like, well, Gary made it to the playoffs. Who fires a coach after making the playoffs 2 back-to-back years? And it just needed to be a fresh start. It needed to be blown up from this coaching staff because the voice had become stale. The message had fallen on deaf ears. And you could see that through the action of the players. You could see it through the actions of how they played the game. And too many games this last year, our coaching staff totally failed the football team by going into games that they had people overmatched that they should have won, that they should have beaten the brakes off them, and they didn't.
Definitely. So let me ask, what are your expectations for, this whole new coaching staff? It's not many guys that stuck around from last year. So all of these new guys, as well as the old guys, what are your expectations going into camp and into the season?
My expectations for the season is no less than a 12-4 football team, 12-4 record-wise. I truly believe that with the addition of Philbin as the offensive line coach, you're going to be able to get some different techniques, some different work from there. I think with the innovation of Mike McCarthy helping with a second-year play caller in Kellen Moore, I think the offense will be even more explosive from the coaches staff. I think from the defensive side of football, with Al Harris and Coach Lindquist, I think they'll be able to turn around and get these DBs who we for years tried to figure out, how do you get turnovers in Dallas? How do you get interceptions in Dallas? I mean, that's like that's like the lost gold. That's a golden egg that we can't find because we have not had a over 6 interceptions from a guy. And I want to think, Jeff Heath, the GOAT, for years led the team with 5. You got to go back all the way to Terrence Newman and Mike Jenkins to get to the point of having that many interceptions from a defensive back in Dallas. So I think with the addition of those coaches, I think you're definitely going to get a bump in games. So I'm looking at season-wise right now, on paper, nobody getting hurt, 12-4, 13-3.
And we of course we're going to get into the defense, but I feel like the ability, the bend but don't break philosophy that they had, it was good, but you still allowing teams to put up 3 points on the board consistently. And while that's not getting them 7 all the time, you're not giving your offense a break. You're not helping your offense at all. And then you couple that onto the fact that the special teams was dead last in the league. It was built to fail.
Absolutely. When you turn around and say, hey, we're going to give up, then that means I'm keeping everything in front of me and I'm not pressing the offense to make a decision or make a quick decision. If they don't have to do anything that's off schedule and off rhythm, then they can pretty much work their offense down the field. You pretty much working on like a 7-on-7 routine because I'm keeping everything in front of me. I don't want to get anything over the top of the big play, but I'm keeping everything in front. Instead of finding ways to attack them and make them adjust to you, they're just saying, okay, you're going to line up in cover 1. You're going to line up in cover 3. Okay, we know what you're going to do. This is where the opening is. This is where the opening is. And you're moving down the field. So now your defense is getting worn down. They're coming on the other side of the football. They're attacking you. And so now you got somebody attacking you, but you're letting them go as far. And okay, we only give up 3 points, but they're attacking. They're attacking me. They're attacking me on my offensive side. So then they get the ball back. Then boom, my football team is back on the field. So now I got to go from attack mode on the offensive side. So now I got to attack them. And it was just a crazy mindset to just let me give up yards and then hold at the end instead of, let me stop you here, flip field position, and go forward. That's what a lot of teams did to the Dallas Cowboys, did to us time and time again last year. Therefore,
and it's sad that they never picked up on that habit to try it themselves.
No, they never. No, and it or it's only in specific situation. Was like, the first Philly game, you attacked them because you got turnovers. The Rams game, because you got turnovers. Any football team is a different football team with momentum and getting the ball back over and over, giving your offense time to try to score more points. And that's what they did last year.
That's right.
And
that's right.
You look at games where they had, 35-point games. You turn around, you look at the Giants game. I think both Giants games, they scored like that. You got the Rams game. You got the first Eagles game. Any game that they walked the dog on somebody, they were getting turnovers and they were pressing the attack. It was almost to the point of the departed Jason Garrett. His mindset, if it got tight, then let me play towards the mean. Let me play towards keeping it close instead of saying, let me keep pressing the subject
and let me play to win.
I'm playing to get out of here. I ain't playing to win. I'm playing not to lose. I'm playing not to lose. That game when they went into New Orleans last year against Teddy Bridgewater, that was Bridgewater's second game as a starter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it wasn't as much stuff they could have implemented, and they played it very close and tight to the vest. And when we have an opportunity to start showing the film on that, there's a lot of 7-man boxes in there. So that meant that the offense was able to do a lot of different things. You had 2 turnovers in that game that were crucial. One by Jason Witten on a fumble, and then a questionable one by Zeke getting his elbow on the ground. But it turned around. We were doing all the movement and adjustments and things of that nature in the first 3 games of the season. Week 4, we turned around and stopped the movement. We stopped doing different things that we were doing at home, that we were doing to exploit teams and get them on their heels. We didn't do that in the New Orleans game. And that was a crazy situation. But that also goes back to a point we talked about before. That was the first time they had a defensive line that really pressed our offensive line that day.
Yeah, definitely.
And you can see the difference, how they handled it, how they reacted, especially up the middle.
Definitely. And that's another one of those games where coaching should have won.
Oh.
They were in a situation to succeed.
Yeah, without question. Without question. You had an opportunity where you saw some things happen. Perfect example, Blake Jarwin scores on a play right down the middle of the field. Then I don't think Blake Jarwin played very few snaps after that. It went back to Jason Witten. If I saw a guy who could beat the middle of the field and get down the field, why not play him? I understand all the different things that come with that, but we'll talk about it in detail.
Yeah, let's go into it. Let's start with the tight end position.
Gotcha.
Jason Witten is out of town. Blake Jarwin is the guy now.
Yes.
Going into 2020, I'm expecting him to at the very least get those targets that Jason Witten had. At the very least, let me pull up how many targets Witten had last season. He had,
I think it was
targets. Jason Witten had 83 targets.
I remember we talked about before. He had 83 targets. 83
and
targets
Jarwin had 41.
Absolutely.
I need to see Blake Jarwin get at least that 83. He doesn't have to break 100 targets because you have too many weapons in the receiver position for him to really be allocated that much attention from that. But I at least want to see him get that 80 targets since he is supposed to be the guy now. Blake Bell is there, but he was brought in with a very specific role in mind. He's a great blocker.
Gotcha.
So he satisfies what the front office wants in a tight end, being a pseudo O lineman.
Absolutely.
Blake Jarwin is one of those new age tight end guys. He's a big receiver, for lack of a better description.
Right.
So I want to see him with 80 targets. I'll say 85. Nice round number. 85 targets on a year. I think he can pull in 60 of those at least. So he can have maybe a 600-yard receiving season, possibly more. But my bar is medium low. I'm not going to skyrocket that bar because I want everybody else to be skyrocketing. I'm only
Okay.
looking for satisfactory levels from Jarwin since he's now the guy. I know he can catch.
Gotcha.
So just give him the opportunity to do it. What are your expectations for the tight end position?
Tight end position, I think, is pretty much wide open to the moon. I've been calling for the Hall of very, very good Jason Witten to leave a long time ago. So
You don't think he gets in?
Man, that's a whole nother podcast.
Got you. Yeah.
That's a whole nother we might get and that's a whole we could talk about that for days, in my opinion. Do I think he was a great player? He was a very, very good player. Very, very long time. And that kind of skews my feeling for the Hall of Fame. But we can definitely have that one. We can have that one as our dude used to say, we can have that over a couple of lemonades.
Hey.
How I feel about Jason Witten. But I expect it to open up, but I expect the middle of the field to be something that Rain gets the opportunity to use this year like he's never been able to use before. I think Jarwin's ability for yak after the catch, turning a 6-7 yard comeback into maybe a 10, 12-yard play. That means you're going to get some attention from different areas, which will open up the field up even more for the weapons we have on the outside with Cooper and Gallup and Lamb. That will make us even more deadly. So I think if I get 65 receptions out of Blake Jarwin, I'm looking at maybe 65 receptions, maybe 600, 700 yards out of Blake Jarwin, maybe 5 or 6 touchdowns. That will make it to the point my red zone is just amazing because he's already a big receiver. He already runs well after the catch. And now I got a bunch of guys who can catch it and go.
Yes, and we have to be able to exploit the seam route. Jason Witten wasn't the guy that he was in the 2019 season.
No, he hasn't been that guy. We want to say about 4 good years.
Yeah, definitely.
That guy that can really exploit the seam. Now, incredible route runner. Y banana Z, whatever route he want to show you, he can run and he can lose a guy. That's great. But when it came to just getting upfield, finding a spot, and getting down and making a catch, he was great at that. But him exploiting the team, no, those days were long gone.
Definitely. So if we can get that at least out of Jarwin. We got a couple of guys, like we said, we got Blake Bell, we got a couple of unknowns, including Dalton Schultz. I'll be the first to say, I don't think that Dalton makes the team.
Okay.
Yes, he was drafted with the idea in mind that he could be a blocker. But we already know that Blake Bell does that well.
Blake Bell is that guy for absolutely that situation. That's what he's going to be. He's going to be that guy for that. So, key.
Absolutely. And he was with Kansas City when they won the Super Bowl, right?
Oh yeah, he was. Yeah, he was definitely on the team with them, and that's the kind of player he's been. He's been that guy who's versatile, can block, do certain specific things. But I also think he just helps gives you that next guy who's just a pure blocking guy that's better than Dalton Schultz.
Yes.
I think Dalton Schultz came in with the pedigree of being a blocking guy, but he never, I guess, bulked up or got to that point that his blocking was to the point he needed to be on the field so many times. His rookie year, he was okay. Rookie, he was piss poor. Last year, he was better. He was better last year. And then now, and this will be his 3rd year, correct?
Yes.
So he progressed because his first year he was terrible. Second year, he progressed. So I think with him being from the old regime, they want their kind of guys in. And I think the guy that he's competing against is the undrafted free agent out of Michigan. I think it's Shaughnessy, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it's O'Shaughnessy or something like that.
Yeah. I think that's the guy he's fighting for to stay on this team. But I think just on his own and on his own merit, his own weight, he won't be here this year. So I think he will get up. He'll be at the bus station with a peanut butter and jelly sandwich on his way home. And
the thing about Dalton, he never really got even though he's a big dude.
Absolutely.
6'5", 250, he never really got like his man body. That's something like a couple of positions you need a year or two to develop a man body, and that's so weird to say about guys that are 6'5", 6'6". But you see other positions where guys developed into that and became good players, even though they didn't gain weight number wise.
Right.
They grew outward.
Right.
And Blake Jarwin is a guy that never really got that.
Or
So
he
I feel like, go ahead.
Or he never really transitioned his body to the point of what his technique and things of that nature to get to that point. Because you got to also remember with
and did I say Blake Jarwin? I meant to say Dalton Schultz. I apologize.
Yeah, the thing with Dalton was I want to say he had, so his rookie year he gets two different coaches. All right, he gets the guy from Cincinnati and the coach from Cincinnati we got rid of in the middle of the season, and they went to Colombo. Yeah. So he takes his whole training camp. He's learning from him. But now Colombo's already got certain things about tight end. He doesn't have to coach or teach. And so I think that kind of progressed them to bring Witten back like, hey, because it's an all-in type of year, and I don't want to deal with half a year trying to teach a guy how to be able to be a blocker. Yeah. That hurt him. So and now he ends up having
I feel the need to explain to the people that don't quite know how the coaches act. Even though Mark Colombo was not the tight ends coach, he still has a hand in teaching the tight ends how to block.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I feel the need to explain that to the people who may not know the nuances of coaching.
Right. So you turn around, you got a whole different coach. Then you turn around that whole next year. So you saw his progression slightly into his second year. Mm-hmm. But now that he's underneath a whole new regime, is he going to fit into what Philbin wants as a blocking tight end? But they've already went and spent resources on Blake. Is it? Give me his name.
Blake Bell.
Blake Bell and O'Shaughnessy. So if they've got those two guys along with Jarwin, it's going to be a really pressing thing for him in this preseason, this offseason, in the training camp of those 5 weeks to kind of put his name out there that I can be a blocking tight end in this league and be able to move him somewhere else. Because I just don't think they're going to keep – the guys they're going to keep from this regime the old regime are going to be I think it's going to be few and far between. If you're not a proven starter, a proven player that can come and make plays, I think the fringe guys that we've had for years and we've been waiting for them to come along, I don't think they get that opportunity.
Nah, there's no reason to keep like the Garrett guys around. Right, this coaching staff can form their own opinions of players, and then I feel like that's a good situation because guys are not guaranteed positions.
Oh man,
unless you are a real hitter at your position,
absolutely,
you are not guaranteed a spot.
Without question. So with the tight end position, as we talked about, I think we walk into camp, you're looking at, Blake's got money. Blake Bell's the guy they brought in. Dalton Schultz has to prove himself. And O'Shaughnessy's the guy who's looking to get an opportunity to stay on this team. And either if he doesn't do anything, ends up being a special teams guy, and worst case scenario becomes a practice squad guy. I think that's what you do with tight end.
How much are you expecting the 2 tight end set this year, or the heavy set with 3?
I don't even think you need to do a heavy set because you can always just truck out Dontario Poe if you want to. If you want to do a heavy set, yeah. I mean, he's a defensive lineman. He's the only defensive lineman on the team that's got a touchdown pass.
True, that's very true.
You see what I'm saying? So if I need to go heavy, let me get one of these athletic guys that I have and bring them in if I need to go heavy set. But I don't see. We've seen Mike McCarthy use that heavy set in Green Bay. We've seen Dontario Poe have the ability to be athletic and be able to do those things. So I don't think you're going to see a lot of 3 tight end sets. I think what's going to be happening is they're going to spread people out and chase me and catch me because I have too many weapons for me to go 3 tight ends.
Yeah. What about 12?
2 tight end sets, I can see sometimes minimal. I think you're going to be in 3 wide probably 55 to 60% of the time.
And I need that. I need that. And let's transition into wide receivers.
There you go.
I need that because it's so many weapons here, and you can spread the defense out so much that'll not only help the running back, but it'll tell the defense, okay, somebody got to go one-on-one with one of these weapons.
Absolutely.
Even with the season saying Amari Cooper had a down year and he disappeared on all of the road games, he still had 1,200 yards.
Yeah, that's the question everyone is asking, especially outside here in Cowboy Nation, but also all across the NFL. Who is Amari Cooper? in my opinion, he's a top 5 guy in the league. You
I'll
know.
say 6. I graded him 6, right
Okay.
outside of the top 5.
Okay. All right.
But
I mean,
there's nothing wrong with being 6.
Tomato, who you ever think is that guy, that's fine.
Yeah.
Me personally, because of his route running ability and his ability to move inside and outside on the slot, he's a mismatch nightmare. I also love the fact of the matter that he brings other people along with him. Michael Gallup from year 1 to year 2 is pretty much night and day.
Oh my goodness.
First half of the
Gangster.
season, you had questions. Second half of the season, you saw it coming on, and then last year you watched him become a complete gangster as the number 2 receiver for the Dallas Cowboys. So I really love his progression of how he gets guys to get better. So I think bringing him, having his new contract, having the questions over his head, him being a guy that has a very even keel demeanor, I think putting him out there with the young Cedarian Lamb and with Michael Gallup in a third year where he's trying to prove himself even more, that's a combination and a setup for explosiveness all over this Dallas Cowboys offense this year.
And you didn't even talk about CD Lamb.
No.
You ain't even got to bring that up yet.
Because he's unknown, Brandon. What we all know is we have not heard of a wide receiver having this much hype coming out of college since Randy Moss.
That's true. And Guess what? And Randy Moss was brought in to be the guy. CD Lamb is not being brought in to be the guy.
Right.
He's the low key guy who may be in the slot or maybe outside.
Well, the thing that Randy Moss, when he came back, if you go back and remember, Randy Moss went into a veteran receiver corps. He had Chris Carter, who was still a perennial Pro Bowler, right? You Hall of Famer. You had Jake Reed on the opposite side, who was an unknown guy, but to the point, a very steady and accomplished guy. You put Randy Moss as the third guy. You can move him inside, outside, and you had an offense where that offense proved that you had to go and cover and do single safety high, go man-to-man, and you had Robert Smith coming out of the backfield who was able to run and catch. When you think about that, and you just think about some of the most explosive offenses in the NFL history, you talk about that the Vikings team, you talk about the greatest show on turf, and all three of those teams had what? 3 dynamic, explosive wide receivers.
And that's what you're getting right here.
Boom. There you go. And then you throw in the mix, with everything else on the backfield that we're going to talk about. I can see this team going with 3 1,000-yard receivers because you had it easily. You almost had it last year.
Easily, yeah. You had 2. Well, Amari Cooper was 11 yards short of 1,200, so I round up and say 12. But Michael Gallup had 1,100 yards.
Cobb had 800. 800. And we can all say there was a holding call here, a play here, a missed time pass.
You could have got an extra 200 yards just from flags with him. Just from flags.
Yes.
So you might not have the 1,400, 1,500-yard guy individually here, but you're going to have 3 1,000-yard receivers.
I think
I'm going to put a stamp on that one. You're going to have 3 1,000-yard receivers on that.
So we booking it. We saying right now today, 3 1,000-yard receivers. We booking it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because are you going to double all 3 of them?
After you can't.
Exactly. Because we'll dump the ball off to Zeke.
Absolutely.
Or give it to Jarwin. Let him run past the safety.
Right. So you're going to walk in the games. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You're going to walk in the games. You're going to walk in the games ready to air it out.
Right.
Ready to air it out. 40-plus passes a game. You can do it on a whim. Or you can have all of your receivers out there and have your team scared to box in and give the ball to Zeke. So it is so many ways for these receivers to succeed. So many ways because they have a great running back and then a good / above average tight end. So they have everything in place for all of them to be able to see the ball and eat. Because look at it this way. Randall Cobb had 83 targets last year.
Right.
Same as Jason Witten.
Let's
say you transfer those 83 targets to CD Lamb.
Okay. So,
and Randall Cobb walked away keeping 55 of them, had 55 receptions.
Gotcha.
You give I think CD Lamb got better hands than Randall Cobb. I can agree with that. Let's say you give CD Lamb 60 receptions.
Okay.
60. That's not that great of an improvement. I'm not going, even though I believe he can do more. Let's say you give him 60 targets.
Okay.
CD Lamb can definitely make more after the catch than Randall Cobb.
I think if going back to what you said, I think you go with the same amount of targets to him.
Mm-hmm.
I think CeeDee Lamb right now is better than Randall Cobb is right now,
Yes,
because I think if
absolutely,
you take
without a
Randall
shadow of a
Cobb,
doubt.
yeah, you take Randall Cobb that was used in Green Bay in his early years, where he was that guy that was catching the ball, bubble screens, end arounds, jet sweep type of guy. Those kind of patterns for him. One-on-one, CeeDee Lamb, Sedarian will definitely get the record, I think, for the most receptions. We can book that now. He will have the most receptions of a Cowboy wide receiver in Cowboy history,
And the
which is
most
45.
receptions by a rookie was 45. Des
It's
Bryant.
45, which is held by two people, Bullet Bob Hayes
Yeah,
and Des
forgot
Bryant.
Bob. Forgot Bob.
45. And Des would have broken that record that year had he not broken his ankle in
Yeah,
Indianapolis earlier that season. So 45 is totally doable. So I think if you
definitely.
look at 45 receptions, 45, 50, 55 receptions from him, if you look like another 1,000 yards out the slot, this is a year where you can look at this offense really being, as Jeff Kavanaugh likes to talk about, Team 40 burger. I think
Nope.
this is a football team that can score 35 to 40 points, which will in turn be a reflection on the defense. And we're going to talk about them to help
Yes.
them be more opportunistic and more aggressive.
And that's because I feel like this team will, specifically the offense, will
Right.
start off with better field position.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
This
Yeah,
this team is not going to start off at the 25 as much. I can see them starting off at the 35. I'm going to curb those expectations and not go above and beyond. I'm just going to say just the 35, 10 yards. With a
absolutely.
team that's going to be better in the red zone, but due to more threats.
I think if you get better field position, you don't need 3 chunk plays. You need maybe 1 to 2 chunk plays.
Absolutely.
1 to 2 chunk plays helps you flip field position, helps you have different play calling philosophy, and I think that helps your football team out. Helps your football team long term, because you're making the other team think how to slow you down here.
Absolutely.
And so
And you make them
now,
panic. They on the back of their
right,
feet
that's it.
because they think they already got a back pedal because guys will blow
Absolutely.
past them instead of being
Gotcha.
able to go forward and smother your quarterback.
Right. And so you got playmakers in so many different areas. You're definitely going to have that happen. So I believe you're absolutely right. With my top 3, as well as the addition of a full season with Cedric Wilson, being able to be better from the punt game, because I think he will be, but I also think he'll be able to slide in. Plus the unused commodity we all know is Tony Pollard. I think Tony Pollard this year will get a lot more activity in the pass game as well in the run game that will really make it to the point that you're looking at, and we can transition that to the running back position, where Zeke Elliott goes to his 300 touches, 300 rushes. Maybe he goes from maybe 50 catches this year, maybe to 25. And then I turn around and get another extra 25 catches to Tony Pollard, and maybe another 25 more rushes for Tony Pollard, which will help the team out.
You think they're going to feed Tony as much?
I think Tony Pollard is a guy that gives you more escapability. He gives you a little more elusiveness in the open field. Listen, Zeke Elliott, by far, in my mindset, is the best running back in football, hands down, without question. You're not putting anybody next to him that's going to make me think, no, Zeke is the guy, okay? But I think what Zeke loves contact. I think Tony loves to be able to move around the field. Not saying that, Zeke can't move, but he doesn't have the escapability, the start-stop getaway that Tony does have, or Tony has shown. Mm-hmm. And so I think Zeke this year, it's going to be so funny to see him this year, because, after having numbers that were slightly below his average, we talked about, he didn't have a down year, because you can't have a down year at 1,300 yards.
Not at
all.
You
can't have down year 1,300 yards and 12 touchdowns. There's no place in God's creation that's a down year for anybody. For most people, that's a career year. Exactly. But because of Zeke Elliott being who he is, 1,300 yards rushing, 12 touchdowns seems like a step back. But I also think this year, with Kellen Moore having a second year to be able to call plays and see things differently, he'll be able to mix and match him in places with addition of Tony, that now you run out 2 running backs. You put Tony on one side, put Zeke on the other side, and with these three gangsters on the outside, now you're like, who gets the ball? So if I got to match up a linebacker one-on-one with Tony Pollard or with CeeDee Lamb, Man, Dak is back. Rain is back there salivating. Like, man, I'm throwing to whomever, and I know it's going to be positive across the board.
And this is the thing about Zeke. Teams knew what to expect on first down,
Absolutely.
especially early in the game.
Yes.
That's on fault of the coaching staff. But you give Zeke a 6-man box, 7-man box, and you tell him just to at least get to the second level of the defense.
Oh man, listen.
Maybe shimmy past one of those linebackers or go through them like he likes to do.
Yes.
That's gonna give Zeke so many more plays where he isn't stopped at the line of scrimmage or getting negative yardage.
Yes.
Because teams aren't gonna know what to predict.
Absolutely. If you come out in 2016, he led the league in yards on first down. So right. Coming into 17 and into 18, people like they're running on first down. The Dallas Cowboys are predictably duplicatable on first down. We're running on first down. Now, when you have the opportunity to really spread it out, to be able to get more people out in the pattern and be able to open up now, and like you said before, you can't have 7. You can't have 8 in the box. Put 8 in the box you want to. We'll go ahead and score 40.
Yeah. If you put 8 in the box, then you are waiting for a 50-yard plus reception.
Absolutely. And so so now that gives more running lanes for him. He has got more to prove than ever before just because of his contract. And it's so funny to have a guy that have 1,300 yards and still sitting here, I got something else to prove. I think with him having the season he had last year, wanting to prove it more, and then adding Tony into the mix, this offense is going to be dang near unstoppable.
And he did that with the dark cloud of the contract situation over the head in the beginning of the offseason.
Yes. I think you don't have any more games where you're scoring 9 points, where you're scoring 7 points, where you're scoring 10 points.
You don't have any more games where you're scoring less than 20.
Absolutely. So if I can get 20-21, that gives my defense a fighting chance every time they play. As they get better, as the different positions on the defense grow, become more mature, and fall in line with what they want to do under Coach Nolan on the defensive side of the ball.
That's absolutely right. Now I want to go back to Tony right quick.
Go ahead.
Tony Pollard had, let's see here, 86 rushing attempts.
Right.
If I'm taking plays away from a guy, including, where you have to, like I'm taking into account where you got to transition those touches that Cobb and Witten had. If I'm taking touches away from a guy, I'm taking them away from Tony.
I don't think I have to take away touches from anyone because I think I'm going to be on the offensive side of the ball more. I think I'm going to have more offensive plays.
I think they're going to start with better position as well. They may not have to do as many plays.
Yeah, I think when you play in a game where you play from the front, and we go back and look at number of plays the Cowboys had in games when they're in the lead, you have more offensive plays when you're in the lead, and because you're going to have more offensive plays when you're in the lead, you're going to get Zeke his 18 to 19 to 20 touches rushing the ball, because that's what he averaged, having 301 last year. He averaged about 19 rushing attempts a game. So if I'm getting Zeke up to 19 to 20, a lot of those games his numbers came down because we're playing from behind and we're throwing more. Yeah. I think when you're playing with the lead and you turn around now, middle of the third quarter, I'm about 2 touchdowns. Now guess what? I bludgeon you with Ezekiel Elliott. I bludgeon you with Tony Pollard, and I'm still with the threat of, okay, we're running the ball, but I still got to stay in a 7-man box because if I come out of the 7-man box, I'm just going to play action. Boom, I'm going to hit him. I'm going to hit Cooper. Boom, I'm going to play back. I'm going to hit Blake. Boom, I'm going to hit Sedarian Lamb. Boom, I'm going to hit Michael Gallup. So I think they have more plays on offense. They get more plays on offense. So I don't think you're going to be taking anything from anybody.
Now, the one thing that I do think, we historically have that stretch of the year where we have 3 games in 12 days around the Thanksgiving time of year. I want to see Tony Pollard a lot then. Because I'm expecting to make the playoffs and make a deep playoff run.
Right.
I don't want to put those frequent miles on Zeke. Granted, I'm going to give him the ball.
Right.
I'm going to feed him. But if at any point I see a time where, okay, we got to trot a guy out there, I'm trotting Tony out because
of course.
I need to keep Zeke moderately fresh for the end of the season.
Absolutely.
In a best case scenario, I don't want him to have to play much in the last game anyway. But in that short amount of time, 12 days, where you feel like you're being hit by a car constantly,
Right.
I want to get Tony out there as much as possible in order to keep Zeke at least somewhat fresh.
Absolutely. And
So
so,
Tony, all in all, had 106. He had 20 targets, caught 15 of them, but
right.
he had 86 rushes. I want to drop him down to about 85 total, 85, 86 total, including receiving.
I,
And that's ideal. But
I,
if I'm gonna keep his numbers the same, it's gonna be during that stretch of 12 days.
I can't see not utilizing a talent like a Tony Pollard less than 100, him having the ball at least 150 touches throughout the entire season. I mean, Brandy, 150 touches in an entire season is 10 touches, a little
Yeah,
bit over 10 touches a game.
yeah.
I mean, that's catching it and running it. If he had 83 for an entire season last year, I just think having him at 150 doesn't kill you. 9 to 10 touches a game aren't going to kill you with him this year. I want to see more. I see where you may want to see him less because I think you're taking away from Zeke. I don't think you're taking anything away from Zeke. I think you're adding more to Zeke for the back half of the season. I'm trying to play 20 games this year. I'm trying to play 20 games this year.
So let's say this: Zeke had 301 rushes last year. Do you want to
Right.
drop him down to 270, 260?
I'm with you. Go ahead now.
Do you want to drop Zeke down to maybe 270 rushes and try to feed Tony a little bit more? Or do you want to keep Zeke at the 300 and just try to utilize Tony more often in the running game? Just increase your total amount of rushes. What are you looking for?
I think you can still keep. I think you're going to run more offensive plays. I think you're going to have more opportunity to make plays with this offense. I think you score 40 points. I think you score 35, 40 points a game. But I also think you do it to the point where you have more offensive possessions. I think you go from 9 possessions on average to maybe 12 possessions on average. If
Is
I'm at
9
12,
the average that they had last year?
average, I think what they had.
I could see them doing that, like how Kansas City did early on in the year, where their defense was just like, I take it, and then they just get their offense back out just so they can score 7. They'll
Right.
let the other team score 3. Is that what you anticipate?
I think what's going to happen with this offense is, with the defense is they're going to get better as the year goes along. I think, and we're going to talk in depth with that. I think with the additions on defense, and with the additions with the new improvement of players in the secondary, along with coaching, I think you will get more possessions from an opportunistic defense that makes plays on the ball, that puts pressure on opposing teams to try to score, and that means you get more. If I got 12 possessions a game, I'm at 12 possessions a game, I think I'm scoring 35 points, and I think I'm getting more plays and more rushes and more opportunities for Tony Pollard as well as Ezekiel Elliott.
Okay.
That's it. That's what I'm thinking of those with.
Now, this is probably the most important position because we talk about the offense being able to do more. What about the O-line? What are you looking for?
That's right. Yeah, that is the biggest point of question for me on the offensive side of the ball.
Definitely. It's probably the only position group in the offense where there's at least one spot that's wide open. One starter spot that's wide
absolutely open. Only one. Absolutely. I think the days of this being this quote unquote best O-line in football are behind them. I think they're well above average. I think they may be top 10 O-line in football, but I think the loss of Travis Frederick at center it was huge, but I also think they had a contingency plan in place for that happening. I think what ended up happening to Travis in 2018 with him going down with the immune system deficiency, him turning around and then playing Joe Looney, seeing that Joe Looney was a serviceable guy, but not a full-time 17-game starter or 18, 20-game starter that you want. I think that's why they brought in Connor McGovern. I think with them also having the opportunity to draft Tyler Biadasz, where they got him, I think that is the guy day one who can transition and be able to be a starter, just like Travis Frederick did when he came in, day one starter in that situation. I think the reason why Travis was able to do that so well is because when Travis came, he turned around. First off, he was just the guy. They made him the guy.
Yeah.
They made him the guy. And then him going and progressing on with Leary on one side of him already being a rock and being a guy who would be there, as well as with Tyron Smith at left tackle. You had a little bit of influx at right guard, but then the next year later, boom, you drop Zach Martin in. If I drop Tyler Biadasz right next to Zach Martin, right, and then Connor McGovern, who's had a year to grow into his man body, right, already played big time football, I think you turn around and you solidify the middle of your offensive line. So I think this year, the only spot that I'm worried about out the gate, as in training camp, is how Connor McGovern, Joe Looney, and Tyler Biadasz work in that rotation.
Connor Williams wants to throw his hat in that position battle too. What do you want from him?
What I want Connor Williams to do is get healthy.
Absolutely. He had an injury late in the season.
Right. He blew his knee out in week 11.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's middle of that's November, December time frame. And it's usually to the point. I know medical science is great. I know people have come back from knee injury like that because they don't have to do a lot of cutting and things of that nature. But he hasn't been banging on anybody. So if Connor Williams comes into the league or comes into training camp, and he's able to play and go and give me work, then I would rather have him as being my swing tackle. I would rather him be my swing tackle with him and Brandon Knight being my swing tackles and start grooming a guy to be my new left tackle. Because at the end of the day, I know I'm going to lose 3 games at minimum from Tyron Smith every year. If I get 14 games out of Tyron Smith, I'm golden. But because I'm playing for 20, I know if I can lose 3 games during the regular season and get those 3 games on the back end with Tyron Smith being the god he is, because being the demigod he is now, because before he was just a Greek god, being the demigod he is now.
He went from being Zeus to Hercules. That's not too bad.
Yeah, he just went down to being his son. He's just a son, and he's that guy. So him turn around missing 3 games, Connor Williams can come in and play those snaps for me, and that kind of gets me prepared for when we're looking at 2021, 2022, that the day that Tyron Smith says, hey, I don't want to play anymore. That's what I got to start looking forward to.
Now, here's the thing. Just like you said, Connor Williams went out late last year. While I do think that he's still on his own physical therapy and going to see his doctor and things like that, OTAs will be going on right now.
Right.
So it's different not being with those team doctors. So I hope that he can get back fast, but there's still a question mark there. I would like to see him at guard personally, because I think that's where he fits best. But I don't know if Tyler.
Do you believe that's where he fits best, or you think that's where the position where he could play right now?
I feel like that's the position where he feels the most need right now.
I think last year with the addition of Connor McGovern, you eliminate the need for him to be right there. Your need right now is to find out who you're going to get to play center. Because I think with Connor McGovern being there, Connor McGovern can give you quality snaps as a left guard. I know he has never done it in the NFL, but he has done it at a high level at college. And I believe having a year to be in that training program, I think being in that
his man body. See, I want to bring this back up. He got his man body. You saw the same thing with Connor Williams. Connor Williams going into year 2, he got his man body. It was night and day difference.
Right.
So you get Connor McGovern, who had a chance to do the same thing, which I think that pec injury was a little more superficial than what he was led on to believe. It gave him more time to be with the team doctors more and get his body right.
Because coming in day 1, where was he going to play? If he was your second round pick, right?
Yeah.
Connor McGovern was your second round pick in the 2018 draft, right?
Yep.
He was your second round pick. Where was he going to play? Where was he? If you were going to give him a jersey every Sunday, where was he going to be able to help you out at? One, he wasn't going to be able to play left guard because Connor Williams was already there, right? 2018, Connor Williams was already there. Yep. You already had Joe Looney on the staff to be able to be your center backup, guard center switch backup, right? Yep. And then you already had Travis, you already expected to come back. So we'd have been sitting here right now with all the questions in the world that we have for a young defensive tackle that we're going to talk about. we would have had the same, if not more, for Connor McGovern, talking about what he didn't get a jersey to play. Well, where was he going to play?
Exactly.
Where was he going to play?
Exactly. He was going to be a backup at best. He
He
was not in the position to take any of those guys' jobs,
there was no
especially
position
not
to
in the
take.
old regime.
Right.
Especially not in the old regime.
Absolutely. He was not coming and taking anybody's spot because the 5 guys who were starters had been the 5 starters who were the year before. The
That's
competition word was just a good word to just say it sounded out. There was no place for him to be able to go and play. He wasn't taking anybody's spot.
And now he's in prime position to win that job.
Absolutely.
I think that while Tyler Biadasz could be a better player, he don't got his man body yet. He ain't got that year in.
I think he will struggle in pass sets. I think he will struggle in pass setting because that's not one of his strong suits out of Wisconsin. But definitely, it's not one of his strong suits. But I also think he'll struggle with recognition. But it's good to have a 5-time All-Pro to your right-hand side to say, hey, this is what I see. This is what you need to see, and go from there. So I think you can get away, honestly, day one, plugging in Tyler Biadasz right there, and he'll be your guy for your center for the next 5 to 7 years. Definitely. And you are
if he wins the position. If he wins it, you don't have to be scared to put him in. If he loses it, okay, then he loses it.
He loses. But I think him now will be better than Joe Looney because
I have 100%.
I have little to no faith in Joe Looney. I
would trust Joe Looney for a quarter of a season.
I trust Joe Looney 3 games. And he got to go.
Yeah, and that is it. I don't want Joe Looney for a whole season.
No, I like him in the locker room as a locker room guy. I like him as a guy who can set the tone to certain things. But I do not need him playing 4 to 5, 6 games. And I know
him as a guy where your center has to go into the tent for like concussion protocol and then come right back out.
Oh yeah.
I like him for that.
Oh hey, come on, Joe.
Give him,
yeah. Hey Joe, come on out. But if I got to turn around
before a whole season, no.
Yeah. Sir. Oh no, if I got to line Joe up in front of the San Francisco 49ers, or I got to put him out there in front of Calais Campbell for a whole game. No, I don't need. Hey man, I don't need to see him against him. You know, I've already seen that movie before.
Because we got to see him week 1.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. So I think that's going to be what this season's going to be. He'd probably be great that game because it's early in the year. Mm-hmm. But the week in, the week out, I don't see Joe being that guy. I don't see Joe being that guy.
No, week in, week out, no.
So that's what I like there.
Week 1, like let's say hypothetically right now, week 1, what is your potential starting line?
Well, potential starting line is very simple for me. You got left tackle Tyron Smith.
Easy.
I've got at left guard, I've got Connor McGovern. At my center,
we don't know where Williams is.
I do not know where. I think Connor Williams will be on PUP. I think Connor Williams will be on PUP rehabbing that knee. Like you said, you don't have the Cowboy trainers' eyes on him. You got the regular doctors on him, and if the trainers are where the strength and conditioning coach has him, I don't think he's going to be ready. I think for my center starting day 1, coming out of camp, if everything works out the way I would like it, I want Tyler Biadasz to be my starting center. If not,
go in the middle.
Yeah, that's my guy in the middle. And then I turn around right guard because he'll have a chance to have had a whole year to get himself back healthy. I think you'll see a different Zach Martin. I think Zach Martin, I think he played hurt a lot last year. And even though he was still the best right guard in football, I think he turned around and he showed regression because of his injuries, untold injuries. And I think Lyle Collins, who was absolutely our best offensive lineman last year,
showed out. And we got him for dirt cheap on an extension, so I'm happy.
Well, listen, it was for Lyle. It was nip and tuck. Year before, I was like, I don't know how good he can be. I think the switching position coaches helped him, and I think he just took that from last year and exploded into this season. But Lyle Collins has become an absolute must-stay as a right tackle in the NFL. I think he is amazing.
You think that the change from Colombo to Joe Philbin will hurt him?
Only time we'll be able to tell that. Because we haven't had a point where we can say in the past that Joe Philbin has been a terrible offensive line coach. We can say Joe Philbin is not a good head coach. Well, we know what 10 years what that looks like. This coaching staff is chock full of guys who are great coordinators, right? But not good position, but great coordinators, but just not good head coaches. The only guy who's a really good head coach on here is the guy who's the head coach.
There we go.
So it's good to have that because everybody's not meant to be a master chef. That's why you got sous chefs.
That's right.
So let that guy cook up the vittles and prep the defense, prep the O-line, prep the wide receivers, and then put it all together and let Mike do what he does. So I don't think it'll be that big of a difference. I think he'll learn a couple of different tricks and nuances that Philbin knows as being a more experienced head coach, line coach than Colombo had.
I think so because Colombo he was relatively fresh in the game. Hasn't been out of the game, but so long. Joe Philbin has 10 years of head coaching experience under his belt.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
I don't even think Colombo has he been out of the game 10 years yet?
I think Colombo probably may have been out 5.
Yeah.
But so, this was his first but he was an assistant. He was an assistant for 2 years and then turned around and got the head job out of the guys in the room saying, yo, this ain't working.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So and see, that goes back to what the season was built on. It was an all or nothing type season. Is we get it or we go make it to the NFC or we throwing everybody out. We got rid of the offensive line coach for the season. Just for Colombo
had to be done.
It had to be done. Yeah. It had to be done. So I think that's the direction that the O-line is just going. I think it's just going to take a take up with a little bit more experience in coaching.
Good. I really hope so.
Yeah.
Because as it stands, it's the biggest question mark on the offense.
Right. On the offense, the O-line is the biggest question. That is the absolute biggest question, man, that we got going walking in. I know we don't want to have – there shouldn't be any questions about it.
Here we go.
But
we gotta have this one.
It's the elephant in the room, and you got to talk about it. Yeah. Tell me how you feel about this quarterback.
Dak Prescott is easily the starter. I don't think that he is in any danger from the signing of Andy Dalton.
Okay.
Dak Prescott is the unquestioned, undisputed starter of the Cowboys.
Okay.
I think that he will get a contract. Right now, as we know, the main pain point is the amount of years. I think that they are good on the money. I think that personally, I think that Dak Prescott will be fine being tied for first or very, very slightly the second highest paid quarterback if he is not far above the shoulders of the highest paid. But he wants to do it on 4 years.
Okay.
So while I think it's going to get done as we get closer to July 15th, there's no doubt in my mind that it'll get done because Jerry Jones says all the time, deadline makes deals.
Right.
He'll take as much time as he is allowed in order to get it done, but I don't doubt that it'll get done because it hasn't failed with any big name guys yet, honestly.
Yeah, as we all know, those are the guys that they want to keep, they're going to keep. There's not a question about it. They're going to keep them. If they didn't really want to keep them, they stopped any bidding with anybody else by putting an exclusive tag on them, saying, hey, if you want them, you got to give us this, and I know nobody's going to give us 2 first-round picks for him. So we want him. That's the first thing. The other thing that gets me is when it turns around, I don't know a job in America where most people don't have a job that deals with inflation. Even the United States government, they give you a 4% increase every year on your pay because they deal with inflation. What Rain is asking for is what you've given every other guy when it was his time to get paid to top the market, do that. If you look at 5 years ago, the top paid quarterback was getting paid $18 million a year. Okay? No, it was $22 million a year.
And that's so crazy.
Million.
It's so crazy how much that's
Can you imagine that?
In Think about
5 years ago, the highest paid quarterback in football was getting paid $22 million. So you look at that and say, okay, if that's what the deal is, and no one blinked the eye when Garoppolo got his money. Nobody blinked his eye when Derek Carr got his money. Nobody blinked the eye when everybody – Russell basically told them year before last, either you sign me before this starts or we ain't talking about this no more.
He then popped up on video with no shirt on and chains. With no shirt on and chains.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yo, Hawks. Doing this Rico Suave on us, right? Go Hawks, right? So that's the point. I love the fact that CAA has been in contract negotiations with him. You haven't heard a lot. You had absolutely nothing from Rain about what it is. I'm going to let my representation deal with this. What he is saying is that this is what the market is saying. I want to be able to get another bite of this thing in 4 years. You let this thing run all the way to the end because they could have easily walked in and given him a contract last year. Higher than Carson Wentz, higher than Jared Goff, and put it on the table. They didn't.
Yeah,
They paid.
and that they got to eat that because
Right,
he went out and had a career year.
Right.
And you got to think about the things that Dak Prescott checks off that the other two guys that were drafted with him, Wentz and Goff, don't check.
Right.
He has already played the most consecutive starting games at 64.
Right.
Out of any quarterback in Cowboys history. So he checks
Absolutely.
off durability.
Right.
Dak Prescott being a 4th-round draft pick, his draft projection was they knew who he is. You know, they would, but he broke his own ceiling and increased his own ceiling.
He didn't break it, Brandon. He crashed through it.
There we go. At 100 miles an hour.
Right. He turned around from the time that he started that preseason game against the Rams. He pretty much showed you he could do all of this. When they turned around in those first 2 preseason games, they saw him. And then when he went and played that third one, that's fine. His rookie season, he blasted through it to say, hey, he needs to be able to do this better. He needs to be able to throw the ball better, do this better, this, that, and the other. So every year, as you look at his numbers, he has progressed. He has gotten better he's got better with yardage. This year was a career year in touchdowns. Okay. And he's been a better decision maker. There were plays in his rookie year like, yo, he's got to make that pass or he's holding the ball too long. Okay. Well, you don't see that anymore. You don't see that anymore. You know, was it, hey, he needs to use his legs more. Okay. He's worked on getting better, being able to level that out. But I think what ends up happening with a mobile quarterback, everybody has his mindset. You had to be a mobile quarterback like Russell. Russell's the anomaly.
Yeah.
Russell's the anomaly. Okay, let's look at it. The guys who he's being compared to are all-time greats. You're talking about one guy who's picked almost 20 years ago and picked 199, and Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr. Okay, you talk about him, and then you talk about the next guy who you don't find guys in the 3rd round is Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
So he's just an uncharted territory. He's in uncharted territory. Rain has done everything I've asked him. He's been the consummate leader. He's been durable. He's been there. You know, he stood behind the team when there were times that they totally failed him, a.k.a. against the Jets game, a.k.a. last year against the Eagles. There have been games that they were grossly outcoached, and you never seen him came and throw his team underneath the bus.
Ever. Hey, not a single person.
Not a single solitary person. You know, he's been a professional. So I don't have any questions about
even
him.
when guys are holding out to get their money.
Right.
He says, hey, that's your thing. That's your thing.
You remember last year, hey, I talk to Zeke every day. I told him we'll be here when he gets here. I want him to handle his business. He's the proven leader in that locker room. He is the proven, unquestioned leader in that locker room for that offense. So yeah. I know that, right? And what the Cowboys have done beautifully for years has turned this fan base against the players. If you go back 24 months, you go back 12, 18 months from now, the guy everybody hated was Tank Lawrence.
Yep.
He's greedy. He ain't worth his money.
Because they negotiate publicly.
They negotiate, but they did the same thing to Zeke, right? They did the same. Whenever somebody finds out how much somebody gets paid, he's got to be all pro because he's getting paid. Yeah. That's somebody else somewhere else who ain't all pro is getting paid. But they don't worry about them. It's just your guy you worry about him getting. He's got to be all pro and get paid.
That's right.
You watch the regret. So you turn around and say, well, Jared Goff regressed, so he wasn't worth the money. And Dak's got to do what Jared Goff did because he regressed. No, that's not the case.
Yeah.
I've given him all the pieces around him. Well, the only reason he's going to be good is because he's got pieces. Because Dakota Prescott is the only guy who's supposed to win games with a bubble gum, a wrapper, and a paperclip. He's the only guy that's got to be MacGyver in the NFL.
And guess what? Nobody else has to worry about that. Granted, yeah, Tom Brady has been the anomaly. He doesn't have the big name receivers that everybody else is used to. But everybody don't got to be that.
No.
Yeah, everybody don't got to be that.
The goal is for every front office, right? And we have to have it. The goal of every front office is to put the greatest amount of players, right, in place on your team for the least amount of money
Yeah.
to be able to get optimal results.
I don't know any front office that is proud to that is searching for doing it with the least amount of player talent.
No,
They
the best.
want the greatest amount of player talent. Money
Absolutely.
is the thing.
Money's the issue. I want to get the greatest amount of greatest effect and efficiency from my labor with paying them the least amount of money possible.
That's right.
So, everybody wants to have everybody have all pros. Everybody ain't got 12, 24 all pros on their team.
Yeah.
And we as Cowboys fans, we think if you get paid, you should be an all pro. No, you could just be a really, really good player that just ends up being your time to get paid.
Granted, it would be nice if they were all pro, but
it would be absolutely wonderful. Right. But you really only have on this football team right now, on the offensive side of football, you can guarantee shoehorn locked in all pros. I'm saying right now, 2. My running back and my right guard. My left, my right guard. My right tackle has the opportunity to make be all pro.
Yep.
My left tackle is consensus pro bowler, right? Mm-hmm. My wide receivers, Amari Cooper has the ability to be a pro bowler. Mike Gallo has the ability to be a pro bowler. My other wide receiver has the potential to be all rookie. Mm-hmm. Okay? Now, when you turn around and put that out there, they got all this talent. But at the end of the day, there are other people who are all pros. But the Dallas Cowboys football fans believe that if you pay a guy, he has to the next year be all pro. And he got to be all pro as long as he's getting paid.
Yeah.
And
that's just the rose-tinted goggles. You know what I'm saying?
Without question, that's how it goes. But offensively, this football team, my projection is for my quarterbacking, I think, without question, Rain is my starter.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Andy Dalton is the best backup we've had in Dallas since Mark Sanchez.
Yeah.
Okay. And not from a on the
I'll even say Kyle Orton. Because I think Kyle Orton was a better backup than Mark Sanchez.
Yeah, Kyle was pretty good. But see, here's the problem. This goes back to this. You still couldn't insert one of those guys and go get wins.
You're right.
Couldn't insert.
You're right.
Because if you want to say get wins, he goes all the way back to John Kitna.
Yeah.
So if you want to go get wins, that's the best guy for you. But I think from a classroom mindset, Andy Dalton's amazing. From a ability to see what happens on the field and be able to talk to your quarterback, he's the best. I think he's the best. And I think he also helps Ben DiNucci end up moving his progression so that in a year, maybe 2, even with the situation with the COVID, you can be able to go ahead, Andy Dalton will be able to transition from here, go elsewhere, go find him a starting job, and I've got a steady, consistent backup situation with Ben DiNucci behind him.
Do you think they keep 3 quarterbacks?
Oh, yeah, without question. They keep 3.
What about the other guy? What's his name? Let's see. Clayton Thorson. What do you think about him as opposed to beating out Ben DiNucci?
No. Clayton is my practice squad guy. Mm-hmm. Because the practice squad is unlimited. Now I got a practice squad guy. I don't think Clayton Thorson plays a down ever in the NFL. You can book that. We got to take it. I don't think he never plays a single solitary down in the NFL.
Yeah, but the goal with those guys isn't necessarily to get them to play on your team.
No,
you want them to look good enough to where you could potentially recoup some value for them.
I didn't pay anything to get Clayton Thorson.
That's right.
I got him as an undrafted free agent.
Yeah.
I don't need it. Now, do I think Ben DiNucci may be able to down the road give me a draft pick? That's if I keep the carousel going of drafting a quarterback every year. Yeah. Or every couple of years that I can put him inside the system and I can get him in that position. But here's my problem. I don't think Ben DiNucci gets to play on the field because Ray Dakota Prescott plays every game.
He'll get preseason snaps.
Okay.
That's the only time that you're going to be able to show him off.
I don't know because, see, the reason why Garoppolo became such a hot commodity is because you saw him in some game. Well, you saw him 2 games where he had to start when Thomas ended up getting suspended, but you constantly heard about him or how good he was. And if you want somebody to say, hey, my rookie is looking great, well, you got the greatest news cycle that will be able to put that out. Dallas Cowboy media does that beautifully. They got
enough film to back it up.
Yeah, and they'll have film. So I think you maybe down the road, hey, get a 4th or 5th for him. Great. That's all I care about.
Yeah, that's the goal for these no-name guys.
Absolutely.
Besides being a camp-on. That's the goal for them is to get more value than what you paid for him.
No doubt. But I think Clayton will be my backup practice squad quarterback for the next 2-3 years.
Mm-hmm.
and you know, and if he doesn't handle it, I'll find another guy who can do it.
What do you think Dak's stats look like this year?
Oh, next year. I think Dak gives me. I think Rain gives me 5,000 yards,
Mm-hmm.
35 touchdowns,
Mm-hmm.
strong MVP candidate. I think he goes over 35 touchdowns. I think he sets the single season passing record for the Dallas Cowboys next year. He throws 35 touchdowns.
Very doable with the weapons that he has.
Without question. With
Very
35 and
doable.
35. Right. And with
because
that,
he lost, I think it was 4 with Randall Cobb, like that were called back.
Yeah, like he lost. That would put him at 34.
Yeah.
Right. That's see the thing that everybody's banging on is that they didn't make the playoffs. I'm sitting there saying if we weren't going to make the NFC Championship game and make it competitive, I didn't care because
Exactly. I want draft position at that point.
Right, because if I wasn't going to make it, I was going to have to go to Santa Clara
Mm-hmm.
and watch them play San Francisco. And if San Francisco boat races me in the NFC Championship, how do I feel now?
Yeah.
I feel terrible, even though I'm in the NFC Championship game. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Exactly. And do you think you would beat Kansas City? That's the thing. Do you think you would have outscored Kansas City?
I think
so. If you're not going to win it all with a coach that you're already not satisfied with, you got to go after draft position.
I don't think there was a no-win situation with winning the division last year. If I win the division last year and I go into playoffs and I make it to the NFC Championship game, guess what we're sitting here talking about? Well,
another year, Jason Garrett.
I am sitting here with the guy who I did not want as my coach any longer.
Yeah.
Not one more day. So it was a win. That loss, week 16, was a win-win situation.
Yeah, definitely.
Win-win situation.
Only time will tell. I personally think that it'll be like 5,000. Yeah, 5,035 sound real good.
Then you were 4,900 last year.
My main thing is thinking about the touchdowns. Do I think that it's going to go up drastically? I don't think it's going to be 55 like Pat Mahomes did, but do 35. I think it could be 35? Yeah, that's Andrew Luck numbers. That's Andrew Luck in 2018 numbers.
You give me 35 touchdowns, I'm going to tack on another 10 to 12 with Zeke. Mm-hmm. So I'm and then I'll maybe get 5 to 7. I'm going to get 5 to 7 out of Tony. Mm-hmm. Come on, man. I'm 50, 60 touchdowns. I'm good. That's more than enough points for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
More than enough points for me. So I'm excited.
You give me Andrew Luck numbers out of that again.
Absolutely.
You can't complain.
Well, because I'm at the doorstep where I want to be with the NFC Championship, and then I think Mike gives me 2 to 3 more games. I got a great shot
where coaching will win it.
Right, coaching will win it.
Yeah. So, I do think that the interceptions will go up just because if you swing it more, of course you're gonna miss. I think that the interceptions will probably go up 3 to about 14 interceptions.
See that I don't think that's going to be the issue because he takes good care of the football. Yeah. He's not because if you look at his interceptions he had last year, a lot of them were into the hand.
A lot of them were ones that bopped off of the hands of guys.
Right. You're right. Right. The ones that come to mind, the ones in the Green Bay game behind Cooper or hit Cooper's hands, could have led him a little bit further doing that. I think those interceptions, but I think he was at 12, maybe 13 this year. 11. I want to say at least 2 or 3 of them were probably into the halves. Let me throw to the end zone to try to make a play. Yeah. But they still count as interceptions.
Yep.
Because they intercepted the ball. But he only had a couple of games this year where he had multiple interceptions in the game. I can, off the top of my head, the Buffalo game, he had the multiple interceptions that cost you. But he takes such good care of the football that he doesn't put the ball in harm's way. And I think with him having been able to now go out and read with not having as many different looks of different defenses at him, and I'm doing a lot of single man-to-man coverage. I'm doing a lot of single safety high. They're going to shade one way or the other, and I've got so many weapons to get a ball into their hands. I don't think his interceptions go up. I think his interceptions go down.
Yeah, that would be great if he can get another in his first couple of years. I believe he had
first year he had 3
per year.
The first year I think he had 3. Year 2 is when he had that stretch, the 6-game stretch. When he was gone,
he threw 13 in year 2. If I remember right.
13. So I think
year 3 he went back down though, and then of course year 4 he's throwing so much that it goes up. Right. So yeah, if he can even it out at like 10 or 11 again, Yeah,
Boom, 10,
you
11, yeah, 10,
cannot
11
ask
picks
for
a
better.
game. That's a season. Yeah, 10, 11 picks a season. Yeah,
Mhm.
35 touchdowns. Great number. I'll agree. Yeah,
Definitely.
that's almost
Um,
3 to 1.
but yeah, now that we've gone over all of the position groups in the offense, yeah, I definitely think 11, 12 wins is very doable for this team.
I
If
think
only for the increase in tenacity in the coaching position. If only for that. That's why I think that we'll get up to 12 with the talent that this team has, because the offense has not changed too much. There are
right,
not many guys that have changed on the offense. Well, that can score the ball. Let me say that.
right.
Skill position players.
Yeah.
So if only because of coaching, I think they get us 3 wins more than what we had last year. And I think we're gonna sweep the Eagles every year. let's not. They the only competition. That's why I'm not mentioning Washington or New York. So I think we're gonna sweep the Eagles every year. So I'll say 12 wins with the team that we have easily.
If you walk them out there this year on paper, well, we as Cowboy fans have been so to the point of dialing our expectations back because of what we've had to deal with Garrett and his regime. We were
Yeah,
going to play everything close to the vest. We were going to play games where there wasn't going to be any adjustments, and unless we were leading, we felt like we could hold a lead and keep it, or if we were behind, we couldn't come from behind. I think this, just like you said, this coaching staff gives me 3 more wins.
yeah,
I got 8 last year with what I had, so 8-3 gives me 11. So
yep.
I'm looking at 12-4, 13-3. I
Mm,
think the defense gives me 1 or 2 games that they win, and I'm looking at a 12-4, 13-3 season.
yeah.
I'm not afraid.
I
I'm
can't be
not
mad at
afraid
it.
of
I can't be mad at
anybody.
it.
Huh?
That is being conservative. That's
No,
being
I think I
conservative
think that's I think that's maxing them out of their position. I'm not afraid of a single team on my schedule.
at
The
all.
only thing I'm worried about is the 3-game stretch in 12 days.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that back half of the season, and we'll have the opportunity. We can throw it up on one of our sessions to see where we're having where I think it's going to be a rough stretch is that back half of the season when I do those 3 games, and then I got to catch Baltimore and San Francisco back-to-back weeks. I
Yeah.
think that's going to be my toughest stretch. But I
I'm not
come out of
afraid of
that.
San Francisco's offense though.
No, I'm not. I'm not. I know. I'm not worried about the offense. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's just going to be one of them games where it's going to be a lot of slobber knockers. You're
Right.
going.
But
You're going to
everybody
go.
got a plan that they get hit in the mouth.
That's right. That's
Our
right.
offense is gonna hit every team in the mouth
In the mouth.
consistently.
That's it. So when you get in that situation, how we handle it, how we go from there, 12-4, 13-3 is where I see we'll be at next year.
Easily.
That's it.
But yeah, that you're right. That's it. I think that's all that we got for our expectations for the off season as far as the offense goes. Of course, we're gonna
Absolutely.
get into more in the defense and special teams in the next episode. So keep it tuned in right here. Be sure to like this episode, subscribe to the channel because
No
we're gonna
doubt.
be putting out content consistently. Finally, especially as
Yes,
we get
okay.
closer to training camp in the season. This has been Frankly Football. It's been great.
Hey man, nice telling you. Let's go.
Peace.